Hi everyone. It is late and I'm outside as usual. I think what I'll do is sort of do this little intro part and then turn the light off because I'm in the car and I don't want to have the light on for however long this takes. But I kind of want to combine two teams really and kind of give an explanation. Actually, maybe a couple of teams, but also some moves and people to discuss regarding the baseball. So, in particular, I'm looking at the Edward Cabrera trade yesterday, comparing that to the Shane Baz one, and then looking at the Cardinals, who are obviously selling, although some of their selling's already been done, so I might also include a couple of guys on the Nationals, because I don't really have as much desire to discuss. I mean, maybe the Nationals I could do a little more and talk about the farm system and stuff in another video, but I think it's interesting enough to discuss those pitchers as well as a couple other guys. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the light off and get on with the video because I think maybe I'll be able to get these thoughts out a little better. Here we go. All right. Now with this Edward Cabrera trade, what I find interesting is you compare two guys, right-handed pitcher, one's 26, one's about to be 28. On the surface, Cabrera had a significantly better year than Baz, and you would think that would get him, you'd think that would get the Marlins a better return than Tampa got for Baz. I think you could argue that the two young guys plus Owen Casey is a better return than DeBrun, Ferret, Bodine, Auvergne, and a comp pick. But at the same time, I think everyone was kind of shocked upon seeing that Shane Baz had gotten traded, but also just how much the Orioles gave up. I'll wait and see what happens. I think there's an underrated part of those two deals, which, when I say underrated, I mean you just have to wait and see how it plays out, in that I think it's obvious who the coveted pieces were in each one, where obviously with Casey, that's a bigger fish. That's a bit of a pun. It's not funny. Than any of DeBrun, Ferret, Auvergne, Bodine. But to have all four of those guys plus a comp pick, it's a little more, it's more of a dartboard, so to speak, to aim at than, oh, what happens if Owen Casey doesn't work out, and then these kind of young guys, like, I don't remember where exactly, so there's a De Leon and then a Hernandez, I want to say. Those are the other two guys. Of those, like, I'm not saying DeBrun's close. I mean, DeBrun hasn't even played a professional game yet. And ironically, that was actually a pick, I'm pretty sure, that the Orioles got for trading Brian Baker to the Rays. And now they traded it back to the Rays. Well, traded him, who was that pick, back to the Rays in this trade. But anyway, that aside, he hasn't played a professional game. So I don't think it's necessarily fair to project him anywhere. He's an undersized guy as it is. And Auvergne, I would say he's pretty far down in terms of prospects. Well, he was for the Orioles. I mean, even within the system, it looked like how they ranked him on MLB, he's higher in the Rays system than he was in the Orioles. I think that says something. With Fourette, that's possibly the biggest loss for the Orioles, but they also have Gibson and Bright and Bragg and Herman and Mejia, Mejia is really far off. Like, he's like 18. So the point is, the Orioles have, I didn't even mention the Orioles De Leon. There's De Leon as well. There's a number of guys for the Orioles, that's the point. So it's not as if one guy is going to be a huge loss. With Casey, especially losing Kyle Tucker, assuming he obviously doesn't come back to the Cubs, that's kind of a big loss, at least projection-wise, where you don't really have an outfielder step into that role. Plus, you have to consider that outside of Pete Crow Armstrong, the two starters, at least projection-wise now, are Seiya Suzuki and Ian Happ. Both of them are out of contract after 2026. So not only are those two out of contract, you already lost Tucker. Kelly has an option or an opt-out, one of the two, so he might not be back after 2026, plus Boyd. So losing Imanaga is not going to be a huge deal for them. But anyway, the point is that the Cubs gave up a significant little piece there. And so moving on to the Cardinals, they've traded Contreras, they've traded Gray, they still have Nootbaar, they still have Donovan. They're trying to get rid of Arenado, so it's not even about, oh, well, what are you going to get back for him? It's more just getting him out of there, even if they have to cut him. With Jojo Romero, again, that's a reliever. You could say, oh, well, look at what Ferrer got for the Nationals, but he had years left. Jojo Romero only has 1 year. And people apparently, I'm not going to sit here and act like I've watched that much Harry Ford, but some of the hype around him seemed to be much higher than his actual performance as a prospect, catching prospect, as in he's athletic, but he's not a great catcher, he's not a great hitter. So maybe that's not even that great of a piece to get back for one of your only decent relievers for the Nationals. But anyway, so speaking of the Nationals, again, because I'm combining kind of the Cardinals and the Nationals here, if I were looking at, well, I do think, I will say with Brendan Donovan, that is a guy who, if you trade him to, say, Seattle or the Giants, or who else could you trade him to? Dig into the Red Sox well again, since they could use a guy that could play second base if Bregman doesn't come back. Although I do think he'll come back, so anyway, that aside, that's not what this video is about. Yeah, so Donovan's a piece. I'm not sure what'll happen with CJ Abrams. Speaking of the Nationals, again, like Bo Bichette, I said this before, but that is not a shortstop at this point. I don't know if he'd necessarily move back out to the outfield. He probably would stay on the infield, but second base, look up his numbers. He's probably actually worse than Bo. He's a terrible shortstop. So he needs to play some second base. Again, similar set of teams would be looking to get him. Speaking of the Cubs, I forgot to even mention Nico Horner. That's arguably the biggest one that's going to be a free agent if they don't do anything to remedy that situation. So again, the Cubs kind of need to go out and do something. The Cardinals are obviously rebuilding. The Nationals are obviously rebuilding. The big Nationals piece, along with Abrams, if he's to be moved, is Mackenzie Gore. Again, getting back to comparing Cabrera and Baz, the returns for both those guys, I think Gore would get even more, even though maybe he'd get something similar because he has that one fewer year, but he's a better pitcher than both those guys by a pretty decent margin, I think, and doesn't have the health concerns. He has consistency concerns, but most guys do. I mean, even Joe Ryan does, really, if you look at his second halves. So the Nationals, again, whatever they did with the Baby Shark thing and beating the Astros, they beat the Astros, right, that year? Yeah, pretty sure. They did something because they upset somebody because everything has gone wrong since then. I mean, they've traded guys, lost guys to free agency. That was even after Bryce Harper had left. So him and the Nationals just since 2019, it's just been pretty terrible for both. I mean, they've gotten Eli Willits. We'll see if he's any good, but just unlucky. End up with Dylan Cruz instead of Paul Skeens. That's brutal. I'm sure there were other guys in that draft as well. I mean, I could go back and look, but even then, that was like 2 years ago. So not everyone's quite panned out yet. You can't judge that. What else was I going to say about this? Yeah, I think it's kind of tough to truly judge rebuilding teams. I was going to mention some of the players with the Cardinals that people can look forward to. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because with the Nationals, just to kind of compare and contrast the two, I see James Wood. I guess, Dalen Lyle, although he hasn't played that much to judge off a huge sample size, kind of like James Wood, where he's played, I think, over a year now. Dylan Cruz, if he can fix whatever's wrong with his swing. You got, as I said, Willits. He's pretty far off, though. Sakura and Susanna, it's two big right-handed pitchers, kind of like in the Steven Strasburg mold, at least body type-wise. Who else do they have? Harry Ford, if he's any good. I mean, can't be any worse than Caber Ruiz, can you? Who else? Robert Hassel, if he's any good. Brady House. I mean, they have some guys. It's something. I mean, they're not terrible. Well, they're pretty terrible, but there's at least a little bit of hope. It's not the Rockies. With the Cardinals, I think they have a pretty solid spine, if you could call it that. That's what you call it in football or soccer, where it's like the middle of the pitch or field, where they have Victor Scott in center, Mason Wynn at short, J.J. Weatherholt's coming up, he'll play second, and Ivan Herrera, Pedro Pajes, Jimmy Crooks, that Leo Bernal, I think his name is. So that's a pretty solid group of guys up the middle. It's really just who is going to fill out the rest of the team. Obviously, Contreras is gone. Donovan may be gone sooner than later. Nootbaar will probably be gone as well. Gorman hasn't panned out. Sajaci needs to get a full season to see if he's any good. Jordan Walker, who knows what happened to him? His development just completely stagnated. And then other than that, like, some of the pitching is not quite developed. I mean, Quinn Matthews, Tink Hence, like, they have a bunch of pitchers. I mean, they do also have, his name's Doyle, right? Liam Doyle, I think. They drafted him recently. They signed Dustin May. Who knows? I mean, they got Richard Fitz and some other guys. The point is, they're rebuilding. We all know what rebuilding is like. Well, actually, no, we don't. I know what rebuilding is like as an Orioles fan, but a lot of people don't. If you like a team like the Yankees, the Dodgers, or whatever, you more than likely don't know what rebuilding is like. But yeah, rebuilding can be fun in that there's no expectations. Anything good is something to cheer for. You're not expecting to win. And what else? You get to watch prospects come into their own. The unfortunate part is when the expectations do rise, the pressure goes up, and it's just a different process. I mean, it's cool to want to win and expect to win a little more, but then when you actually are expecting to win, it's just more tense, and some of the fun goes away, which it's an interesting experience. I will say that. Like, I remember going and seeing guys in double, triple A Saw Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday, who else? Jordan Westberg, Colton Cowser, Kyle Stowers, Grayson Rodriguez. Was Kyle Bradish down there ever? That might have been after Bradish. Anyway, just reminiscing a little bit. Saw Adley make his debut. It's good times. Anyway, just rebuilding, trades. Just kind of wanted to get something out. It's been a weird week. Adjustment going back to work. People sick. Adjusting. Not really liking that adjustment. But anyway, gonna stop talking now, and hopefully the next one will be a little better and slightly more planned out and cohesive. But anyway, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.